Hello, YouTubers. This is the second session in our quick session videos to explain a real-life scenario for implementing processing services according to the standard. And as usual, I'm joined today my dear young brother here, Mahdi. How
Hello
are you,
everyone,
Mahdi?
I'm fine. I was as you told me yesterday, we have to find something regarding to for the order of calling our uh, service.
Yeah, the unit test
In
needs to verify the order of calls. So what are we gonna do
and
about that?
I just realized again. I mean, I go through two articles. One is about the Mach sequence,
Yep, that's the one. Uh-huh.
and the one was a letter but to make our mock strict static.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's not a good idea because maybe we need that to do something else, and if we make it a static we cannot do many things.
Precisely,
Yeah.
precisely. So, and that would be useful if and only if this was the only situation. Like there will be coordination services or orchestration services where there is no way for you to verify that that's actually what's happening. But to ensure that our tests are actually, really tight when it comes to, bulletproof when it comes to these things, we have to make sure that we implement this in place and we have to make sure that this is the case. So what are we going to do now? Let me real quick open up the project here, the Corona Tracker.core, right? Is that
Yeah,
the
right.
okay. While we're building this application, I'm really hopeful that um, our world goes back to the same way it was, that people are healed and happy, and people go back to their work and families are united. A lot of people were prevented from coming and seeing their family members because of the disease, because of the plague. So I hope that kind of goes away with that. Okay. All right. Let's
I hope.
increase. Yeah. Let's increase the screen time here and let's see if we can write the next test. It's my turn now. Okay. So let's go here to 175. Here is Mehdi and here is Visual Studio. Okay. So I'm gonna share my screen here. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, everything's.
Okay. And we are in these processing services. Let me sync up real quick. Everything should be passing at this point in time, right?
Yes, you are right.
All right, let's do this. So here is a test explorer. Let's run this real quick. All right, everything is passing. Okay, the second test that I'm gonna write here is gonna change everything now because this is a processing services with multiple cases. I'm gonna go here and say fact, and I'm gonna go here public async task should modify, right? Should modify country if it exists. If country exists async. Okay, so there you go.
Given one down.
So I'm gonna modify my random generator here a little bit. So I'm gonna go here and say, remember this guy that you say, create random countries? Instead,
Yes.
I'm gonna create a new one in here, private static iQueryable country. Here comes the interesting stuff that so create random countries. It's an overload, but this one takes a country in as an input parameter, right? So what happens here? This guy is exactly the same. You have an iQueryable. Let's make it a list. You have a list in here, a list of countries. Here's this guy, and here's your country here. And then this is random countries, right? And I'm gonna go here and say create random countries dot to list because this guy generates an iQueryable. And then I'm gonna go here and say, go ahead and say random countries dot add country, and then return random countries
As query.
as queryable. That's it. So now I'm passing in a guy in, because I need to verify the other case where the country does actually exist in our system. Okay, so
Uh-huh.
far so good. Let's go back to this guy here and let's go here and say, so I want to go and say country, right? Random country, create random country, and then country again. And I'm going to go and say input country. That's your input, random country. And then in here, I want to say country modified country, because that's how we're going to call the modify. And then country again, expected country, right? And
Right.
that's your modified.deep clone. That's one. And then the other one that I want to create here is that iQueryable of country, right? Random countries, create random countries with input country. And then iQueryable in here where I say retrieved countries from random countries. So far, so good, right?
One small question, Hassan.
Mm,
Uh, we will uh, send a request for the retrieve all,
mm-hmm,
okay?
mm-hmm.
But our database will have a add method or modify, which will get one single country.
Mm-hmm.
Which service will represent that uh, every that country from the external call we say how it will be happen. I here I'm confused because we have to add it one by one if I'm right.
That's right. You know,
And
and we can build a service later that takes multiple. Also a processing service that does multiple upserts. So you're sending in a list and it's gonna make multiple upserts. We can do that. That's not a problem. Okay.
it will be under the processing again.
Yeah, and I highly recommend doing it one by one for now. Uh, um, uh, because I want you guys to see the more common case, and then we can do the list later. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay, so let's focus back on this one. So what am I doing here? I'm gonna go here and say this dot mock country service mock dot setup, right? And here's my service, and then I'm gonna go here and say retrieve all countries, returns like this, retrieved countries. That's one. Okay. And then the other one that I expect to be called is setup service dot modify country async, which is the input country, right? And
Right.
we want this guy to return asynchronously, right? The modified country. So far, so good, right?
Right.
Before I forget, we need to add a test in here that says this dot country service mock. Now that this is a part of our equation, we need to go here service dot modify country with any country. This is the original test, right?
Right.
Should be called times what? Never, right? But in this guy here, it's different. I'm going to show you how this looks. Here's actual country, like this. And then we want to go and say this dot processing service. So that's your processing service. And then you're saying upsert country async. So let's take that guy down by one. Let's go here and let's break it down by one here. And then let's go here and say this is what the input country. Okay, what do we expect out of this? We expect that the actual country should be equivalent to expected country.
Right.
And then we also expect that this call has happened, that verify call here has happened with times once, right? So that's one guy. But we also expect that this guy here has happened with times also what? Times once, which is times once like this. What else do we expect? We expect that
Add never happen. Right.
we expect that the add never happens, right? So let's go back down here and say this dot country service verify service dot add country. It is any. country. This is us saying we should not. Like, see, a lot of people tell me, Hassan, why don't, as long as you're saying verify no other calls, why do you have to make that never call? Because I'm trying to tell you the story. I'm trying to tell you what was supposed to happen, if it wasn't for these particular decision.
And by the
Okay.
way, even if you call the verify no other call, both modify and add are under the one service. Then we are more just specific
Hmm.
because it's making sense, I think.
Right, right. And then you're gonna go here and say service mock verify no other calls. And then what else do we have? The logging, verify no other calls. So that's a test for you right here. So what is this guy doing? Now the logic is gonna change a little bit because this one now is gonna fail because the country does exist. See, the
Mhm.
country does exist, right? So now this guy is failing. Why? It's saying I expected the actual country to be this thing, but I received null. Why did it receive null? Because we didn't mock the add, and all it knows is that it needs to add the add. So now it's your turn to make that one pass. Are you ready for that one? Here, fail. Go for it.
Okay.
There we go. Yep, you're it. Go for it.
Okay. Give me a second.
Hmm.
I will share my screen.
Here we go. Okay. Is this a different color from yesterday? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Maybe I
Uh,
have to come back to the white sim. Maybe if you
the white theme. Yeah.
classical, fancy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So which one is failing?
I just run all of them. I think this one should fail.
That's the one
It's
that should
supposed
fail. Yeah, let's do it.
supposed to be.
Mm,
Yeah, one failed. Okay.
perfect.
Let's
Let's
back
make
to
it
the
pass.
service.
Yep.
Okay.
Now what do we do? Hmm.
Okay, but mm, I was thinking to write a if statement here, but it's not making sense to write
Do
a if.
do do whatever makes the test pass, and I will show you how we're gonna clean it up later. Remember, make it fail, then make it pass, then refactor. That's how it works. Let's just make the test pass first. Let's get it working, and then we'll make it pretty. Okay?
I think, but you want to both of them are pass or just one of them passing?
Both of them have to pass. So feel free if you want to use if statement. Whatever you want to use, that's okay. And then we're gonna make it better later. Let's go.
Okay, but
Hmm.
I was thinking, oh, we how we can verify that the it's not exist. How we can verify the existence? Because now if I say okay, return await this country service modify country, that one that you the second test will be pass.
So what?
But
So why are we calling retrieve all countries?
that that's the point. That's the point,
Retrieve all countries will tell us whether this country does exist or not. And based on that, we can determine whether to call add or modify, right?
right?
Then do that.
Okay.
Mm,
I will say
mm,
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 if no,
mm.
I'm going to say if this one is exist.
Do whatever works for you. Just get the test to pass, and then I'll make it look pretty. Go for it.
Okay. Let's start from here. Write if statement,
Mm-hmm.
and we will say this that country service dot
Mm-hmm.
retrieve all
Mm-hmm.
is not equal to null.
Nah.
No.
Let's put these retrieve all countries in an iQueryable, and let's call it all countries.
Mm,
Hmm. Okay. Now,
and it should be
now under that, let's type in countries. Hmm. Under that, let's type in countries. So
countries.
type first country. Define a variable. Define a variable.
Okay. What I have to call it? Country.
Country.
We already have a country as an input parameter.
Just type the type, man. Just type the type
Huh?
country and then maybe country. And then type in there countries dot first or default and then find the ID. First or default. And then write in the lambda expression there that tells you find it by the ID.
I have to say like a country here again.
Hmm.
Country dot
Right.
ID.
Uh. See, maybe your variable is conflicting with the existing parameter. How about retrieved country?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So retrieve
Twice.
country by ID equal, right? We need to find the ID that matches the incoming, right?
Country dot ID.
That's right. So this
Wait.
guy's gonna come back. Don't forget the semicolon. This guy's gonna come back. Maybe country can be sometimes null and can be sometimes not null, right?
Yes.
Determine based on that whether you want to call add or modify.
Uh-huh. You say if
Mm-hmm.
maybe country
Mm-hmm.
equals null,
Okay.
we will do this.
Okay.
Or no, maybe it should be a default or like this. And if it's not null, we just say
Mm-hmm.
return wait this dot country service dot modify country sync, and it will be a get a country.
Okay. Let's run the test. Let's see if that passed.
Okay. It's passing. Nice.
Perfect. Now submit that and give it back to me.
Sure.
So this is the red and then green and then blue. And blue
Is
is uh,
the magic. Okay. Here we go.
okay. Let's go to my side. Okay. So you made it pass. Now I'm just gonna make it a little bit prettier. That's all. So let's go here. And let me just explain a couple of things for you here so you can kind of see, how we do things and
Okay,
why
because
this. uh
it's a totally like a new things for me, and
I
I
know.
just
That's why I'm doing it with you. If it's not new to you and if you've done it before, I'm not interested.
yeah.
Okay, so both of these statements, first of all, these are two-liners, so they need to be separated. But both of these statements are doing the same thing, right? They target one single purpose, which is producing that maybe country, right?
Right.
So let's put these in one variable. Let's put all of these here. Control period, extract a method like this, and I'm gonna go here and say retrieve country by ID. Okay, so I put this in one method in here. But even
And one short thing,
mm,
we also have a retrieve by ID in our.
yeah, yeah, but this is a
Uh-huh.
local. This
Uh-huh.
is not retrieve by ID async. This is a private local for your
Uh-huh.
purpose here, and
Yeah.
it takes in the entire country. It doesn't care about the ID, right? In fact, actually, I'll go in here and say retrieve matching country like this.
Uh-huh.
Retrieve
Now it's
matching
working.
country, right? So, so this is retrieve matching country. Even this is still too much, right? Because this guy here is doing a lot of work, it seems to me, right? So why don't I take this guy, all this guy in here and put it like this and go like introduce local, right? And I'm gonna go here and create that predicate. You see that predicate here?
Yeah.
So let's just do it this way. I'm gonna go here and say private expression func,
Funk.
right? And this func takes in a as an input. It takes in it takes in a country and returns a boolean, right? And in here I'm saying same country as, and I'm passing in the entire country in there. This guy takes in country like this, and it's returning in here country, where country.id, right? This is retrieved country, and this is the country right here. Okay,
Right.
so let's go up in here and say, so this is here. I can go replace this guy and say first or default, same country as the incoming country. And I'll just work the same. Look,
Just cleaner.
it's much cleaner, right? So in here, I'm basically same country as, and it's going in here and saying countries first or default were the same country as this country. So go ahead and retrieve that. Maybe I don't need this variable anymore, right? So this variable here, I can take this variable out
We just return directly.
and just do a return because we're not doing anything other than that, right? So that's that part. And then I can go in here and say, so now I have this retrieve count. So this part is cleaned up. This part is ready, right? It's already in here. Now I can go back here and say, this part here can also be simplified, right? Because when you say maybe country is not null and then at the very end add country, that's still putting the engineers that are reading your code in a loop, right? They're not sure what's going on there. Instead, we can use pattern matching in C sharp, which was introduced with C sharp 8, where I can go here and say return, maybe country, switch. And if this country is an object, then go ahead and call the modify. Otherwise, in all other cases, like this, go ahead and call the add, like this. Take all that junk out, put a semicolon, done.
Hmm?
See what I did there? So basically you're going and saying, maybe country, switch. If this country is a thing, then return it. If it's a thing, then modify. If it's not a thing, then now let's say
Add it.
some people are not familiar with this topic, right? We can
Yeah.
switch it. We can go here and say null, put this guy up here like null. If this guy is null, because that's the case that is most likely to be at the very beginning, then go ahead and if it's null, then go ahead and match for add. If it's not, then go ahead and add.
Uh-huh. Then
Okay? All right. So now, does this actually continue to make our test pass? Let's find out.
Supposed to be.
We'll see. You don't believe it until you see it.
Hmm, cool.
Does that make sense? So this here gives us the opportunity to kind of build. So now this way here, you have the happy path. I can go here and say code rub clean, refactor, upsert function. See, get something passing, get something failing, get something passing, and then, you know, so that's here a processing service, Mehdi. See how they look like? Advanced business logic. You're calling three primitive functions to apply a certain logic. That doesn't belong in the foundation service.
Yeah.
Now, in the next session, we're going to talk about something called validation in the processing services. You validate particular things. Not everything in here you validate, unlike the foundation services. Like in the foundation services, you have to validate everything. You have to validate that the country is not null, the ID, the name, the state, the created date, updated date, all of that stuff. And that's on the foundation service layer. But in the processing service layer upwards, all the way up to aggregation services, you only validate what you use, which is another topic we will be talking about hopefully tomorrow, and hopefully you'll find this useful. Does that make sense?
Oh, my mind just blowing every.
Wait till you get to orchestration services and there's something called cul-de-sac. Cul-de-sac here in America meaning when you go into a road and the road is closed, so you have to turn back, right? So imagine like a queue message coming in, and then it turns back into storage. It doesn't go out from the other side on a controller or anything. There's so much stuff I have to show you, and I'm very excited that you're excited about this. I'm excited for your excitement, and let's get let's connect tomorrow and do more.
Perfect.
Okay, my friend. And for those people who are watching us as usual, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you have any compliments for Mr. Mahdi over here,
Yeah.
please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in another video. Thank you,
See
Mahdi.
you
Take care.
guys.